Welcome to Empowering Voices, Advocacy in Action, the podcast that amplifies the voice of patients, advocates, and healthcare leaders driving change. Together, we'll explore stories, strategies, and solutions to empower you to make an impact. Let's turn advocacy into action, starting now.
Hello, and welcome to Empowering Voices. This episode is part of a Heal Canada Iron Deficiency Anemia Patient Advocacy Initiative in partnership with 360 Life Sciences Consulting and supported by Pfizer Canada. This is your host, Hisham Younes, on behalf of Heal Canada, and I'll be speaking today to our guest, Heba Harkous. Heba is joining us to share her experience with iron deficiency anemia, both as a nurse and a recovered patient. Heba is a registered nurse, currently working as the Director of Operations and Nursing Services at a fertility and women's health clinic here in Ontario, and has a wealth of international experience as an oncology and hematology nurse specialist. Hi, Heba. Of
Hi, Hisham. Thank you for having me.
course. Well, I really appreciate you joining us. I have a couple questions for you, Heba, that would be beneficial to patients living with or impacted by iron deficiency anemia.
For sure.
Excellent. So to start with, what is iron deficiency anemia and what are its symptoms?
Iron deficiency anemia simply means your body doesn't have enough iron. So, less oxygen is delivered to your tissues. And oxygen is not just something we breathe, it's actually energy for every single cell in our body. From my experience as both a nurse and a patient, iron deficiency anemia is often thought of as just feeling tired. But honestly, it's so much more than that. When your body doesn't have enough iron, it cannot produce enough hemoglobin. And hemoglobin is the part of your blood that carries the oxygen. Think of it this way: your iron is low, leads to your hemoglobin becomes low. And then, when your hemoglobin is low, your body doesn't get enough oxygen. When your body is not getting enough oxygen, it starts affecting everything, not just your energy level. Let me tell you a bit more about the iron deficiency anemia symptoms. It's definitely not just fatigue. A patient with iron deficiency anemia may experience symptoms like feeling exhausted, even after a full night's sleep, shortness of breath, even with simple activities like walking or climbing the stairs, racing heartbeats, dizziness, or feeling lightheaded, difficulty focusing, which usually we say it's a brain fog, hair loss, and even anxiety like symptoms. Well, if I want to explain symptoms by symptoms, let's do it one by one. The fatigue, what we're talking about here is not the normal being tired that goes away with rest. It's a totally different kind of exhaustion. It's waking up in the morning already feeling drained. It's needing to push yourself just to get through simply daily tasks. It's feeling like your body is heavy, like everything takes extra effort. Okay, and now the shortness of breath. This is something patients often don't expect. You might notice that things you used to do easily, like walking, going up a few stairs, even talking for a long time, suddenly feel harder. You may find yourself pausing to catch your breath and wondering why. The racing heartbeat or palpitation can feel scary as well. Your heart feels like it's beating fast or bounding, even when you're not doing much. And that's because your body is trying to compensate, trying to push more oxygen around, since there isn't enough available. The dizziness, the lightheaded feeling when you stand up, or even feeling like you might faint, that's your body telling you it's not getting what it needs. And one of the most frustrating symptoms patients tell me about is the brain fog, not being able to focus, forgetting simple things, struggling to find the right words, feeling like you're not as sharp as you used to be. It can affect your work, your confidence, even your relationships. Hair loss is another big one, especially for women. You start noticing more hair in the shower or on your brush. Your hair feels thinner, and it can really affect how much you feel about yourself. And then there is the anxiety-like symptoms. Feeling on the edge, heart racing, restlessness. And sometimes people think it's purely anxiety, but in reality, your body is under physical stress. I can tell you for sure, Hisham, from my perspective, as both a nurse and someone who lived the experience, that iron deficiency anemia can affect how much you show up in your life. It affects your patience, your ability to concentrate, your motivation, even your emotional balance. And many patients start blaming themselves. They think, maybe I'm just tired because I've been very busy. Or it's because I work long hours. Or, which is very common, it's because I'm a mom and I have so much to take care of. Well, that's true. All of these are true. Life is busy, but sometimes it's not just that. When symptoms become your normal and you stop questioning them, that's when iron deficiency anemia get missed.
Wow. Thank you, Heba. It's definitely more than just fatigue.
Mhm.
We don't want iron deficiency anemia to be missed. Say, as a patient, how do I start the conversation with my physician if I feel I may have iron deficiency anemia?
That's a good question because we always miss that. So, if you have the symptoms or concern, please speak up. And that's the first step to getting the right help. I always tell patients, don't wait until things get worse. And don't feel like you're overreacting. You can say something simple and respectful like, Doctor, I've been experiencing these symptoms, and I'm concerned it could be iron deficiency anemia. Would it be possible to do some blood work and check? Well, asking this question, it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need medical language. Just be honest about how you're feeling. Ideally, your physician will request some basic blood work. The two key tests I always emphasize on are a CBC, which is a complete blood count. This looks at your red blood cells and your hemoglobin, which carries your oxygen. The other test is the ferritin. This tells us your iron stores, and this is very, very, very important. You are absolutely allowed to mention these tests by name. You can say, can we check my CBC or and ferritin level? That's not overstepping. That's simply advocating for your health. Now, here is a key point that I'd like everyone to understand. A normal hemoglobin doesn't rule out iron deficiency. And this is where many patients get missed. You may be told your blood work is normal or you're not anemic, but if the ferritin was not checked or not reviewed properly, you might be missing the early stage of iron deficiency anemia. Because iron deficiency anemia doesn't happen overnight, first, your iron stores drop. That's your ferritin. And at this stage, your hemoglobin can still be normal. So technically, you're not anemic, but your body is already struggling. And this is when symptoms start showing. You feel tired, foggy, low energy, and just not like yourself. Even though your hemoglobin hasn't dropped yet, if this continues and is not addressed, then your body runs out of stored iron completely. And your hemoglobin will start to drop. And that's when you're officially diagnosed with anemia. But by then, you've likely been feeling unwell for a long time. That's why ferritin is so important. It reflects your iron reserves, your backup storage. And when that storage is low, it matters. Even if everything else looks okay. If you take one thing from this, let it be, don't rely on hemoglobin alone, always ask about your ferritin. Actually, Hisham, another important point, don't be afraid to follow up. If you've had blood work done and you're still not feeling well, it's okay to go back and say, I'm still having symptoms. Can we review my iron levels again? Sometimes levels changes. Sometimes things are missed. And sometimes you just need a second look. From my experience, the patients who do best are the ones who speak up confidently and clearly because no one knows your body better than you do. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Ask questions, request the right test, and advocate for yourself. Early detection in iron deficiency anemia can make such a big difference. This is something we can treat and improve.
Very well said, Heba. Advocating for our health is really critical and key. Let's talk about who's at risk of having iron deficiency anemia.
That's a good question, actually. Iron deficiency anemia could happen to anyone, but it's typically more common in certain groups. And this is something I really want people to understand because many patients don't realize that they are actually at risk. Iron deficiency anemia is very common in women of reproductive age, especially those with heavy periods. They are losing iron every single month. And over time, that loss adds up. Your body tries to keep up, but eventually your iron stores get depleted. It's also very common during pregnancy and postpartum. During pregnancy, your body needs much more iron, not just only for you, but for your baby as well. Your blood volume increases, your body is working harder, and your iron demand is way higher. And after delivery, especially if there is blood loss, you may start your postpartum period already with reduced iron stores. And many women are told, oh, you're just tired because you had a baby. But sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's iron deficiency that was never checked or treated properly. Another important group is individuals with low iron intake, and this is very common also. This can happen with people following vegetarian or vegan diets if iron intake is not well balanced. Not all iron is absorbed the same way. Iron from plant sources is harder for the body to absorb compared to animal sources. So even if you feel like you're eating healthy, you could still be low in iron if you're not supplementing or combining food properly. We also see iron deficiency anemia in patients with chronic medical conditions. For example, people with cancer or malignancies, especially those undergoing chemotherapy, can develop iron deficiency anemia due to poor iron intake, inflammation, blood loss, and other causes. Patients with chronic kidney diseases often struggle with anemia because their body cannot properly support red blood cell production, and iron plays a key role in that. Let's also add up here also individual with gastrointestinal issues like celiac disease, Crohn's disease, chronic gastritis, or even after certain surgeries, they might not absorb the iron properly and develop iron deficiency anemia.
That's very informative. Thank you, Heba. So, what happens if we actually ignore iron deficiency anemia?
Well, iron deficiency anemia shouldn't be ignored, but if your iron deficiency anemia is left untreated, things don't just stay the same. They gradually get worse. At first, it may feel mild. You might just feel a bit more tired than usual, a little more drained at the end of the day. But over time, that fatigue becomes more intense. It's not the kind of being tired that goes away with rest. It's constant. It's heavy, and it starts affecting your daily life. You may find it harder to get out of bed in the morning, harder to get through the day. The dizziness also becomes more noticeable. At the beginning, it might just happen occasionally, like when you stand up too quickly. But it progresses. You may start feeling lightheaded more often. You may feel unsteady, like you might faint, and that can become concerning, especially if you're driving, working, or taking care of others. Now, shortness of breath is another symptom that worsen over time. At first, it might only happen with activity, like walking or climbing the stairs, but later, even simple movement can make you feel out of breath. Some patients even feel breathless while talking or doing very light activities. And that can be very frustrating because you know your body and you know that isn't normal for you. Then there is the heart palpitation. As your body struggles to deliver enough oxygen, your heart starts working harder to compensate. You may feel your heart racing and bounding sensation in your chest, uncomfortable heartbeats. This can feel very unsettling, sometimes even mistaken for anxiety or panic attack. Here we come now, mood changes also become more noticeable. You may feel more irritable, more anxious, emotionally overwhelmed, and low in motivation. Again, many people blame stress or lifestyle without realizing that there is a physical reason behind it. And as this continues, your overall quality of life starts to change. In more severe cases, your body becomes under significant stress because your body is constantly trying to compensate for the lack of oxygen. Your heart has to work harder. Your body has to prioritize essential function. And over time, this creates a strain on your system. And this is why it's so important not to ignore early signs. So, because iron deficiency anemia is not something just goes away on its own, if the cause is not addressed, it continues to progress. My message here is simple. Don't wait until it becomes severe. Don't normalize your symptoms. Don't push through something your body is trying to tell you. Because the earlier you catch it, the easier it is to treat. And the better you will feel.
Wow. The earlier you catch it, the easier is it to treat, which brings
Yes. And the better you will feel.
and the better you will feel, which brings me to my last question. Let's talk about treatments. What are the available treatment options for iron deficiency anemia?
Okay, I'm going to answer this question as a nurse and also as a patient. I've seen people go through different types of treatment for iron deficiency anemia. And the truth is, treatment is not one size fits all. It really depends on how low your iron is, your symptoms, and what's causing the iron deficiency anemia. The most common option is oral iron supplements, so iron pills or capsules. These are usually the first step. They're accessible, easy to start, and for many patients, they can be very effective, but they do require consistency. You have to take them regularly, and it can take weeks to months to rebuild your iron stores. And I always tell patients, don't expect to feel better overnight. It's a gradual improvement. The other type of iron administration is the intravenous iron. We relate to it as IV iron. This is usually recommended when your iron levels are very low. You cannot tolerate oral iron because of the side effects like nausea or vomiting or constipation, or your body is not absorbing the iron properly. IV iron works faster and it bypasses the digestive system completely. For some patients, it makes really a very big difference. And in more severe cases, when anemia is very advanced, some patients may even require blood transfusions. This is not common for everyone, but it's important to know that it's an option in urgent situations, like bleeding, for example. But regardless of the treatment, there is something very important I'd like to highlight. A very common mistake I see, and I've experienced this myself too, is I started iron supplements, I feel better, so I stopped it. This is not correct. Feeling better doesn't mean your iron levels are back to normal. What's happening is your body is starting to respond. Your hemoglobin may be improving and your symptoms start to ease. But your iron stores, which means your ferritin, may still be low. And if you stop too early, you go right back to where you started. Iron treatment, Hisham, is not just about feeling better. It's about replenishing your stores completely. You should never stop or change your iron treatment unless you repeat your blood work and your doctor confirms that your level are back to normal. And even then, sometimes you need what we call a maintenance plan, especially if the cause is ongoing, like heavy periods for women. Another important point, treatment is not just about taking iron. You also have to understand why you became iron deficit in the first place. Because if the cause is not addressed, the deficiency will keep coming back. Well, my message to patients, take your treatment seriously, be consistent, follow up with blood work, and don't stop early, even if you feel better. Because when iron deficiency is treated properly, the difference is how you feel your energy, your clarity, your overall well being is really life changing. Finally, as a patient myself, I'd like to remind individuals with iron deficiency anemia that what you're feeling is valid and you are not alone. If you don't feel like yourself, please don't ignore it. Iron deficiency anemia is very common, but the good news is it is also very treatable, especially when caught early. Listen to your body, speak up, and advocate for your health.
Very important messages there. Thank you, Heba. So insightful and super informative. I know that there are a lot of people out there struggling to navigate their journey with iron deficiency anemia that will benefit from this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Sam.
Well, this has been Empowering Voices from Heal Canada, and we've been listening to Heba Harkous, a nurse and a patient with lived experience, talking to us about iron deficiency anemia. Thanks for tuning in, and bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on Empowering Voices Advocacy in Action. Stay inspired, stay informed, and keep advocating for change. Together, we're stronger, amplifying our collective voice. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Your voice matters.